Hi, my name is Gail Cassidy, creator of Bully Begun, and I'm going to give this another try. The last time it went dead after 50 seconds. The reason I'm doing this, people often say, why are you doing this? Why don't you just retire? You are retired. Relax. But the one thing I feel so strongly about are kids who are being hurt physically, mentally. Anytime you see a child hurt, it hurts inside. And primarily due to bullying. Bullying is something that will never ever go away. It's here to stay, but we can bully-proof our kids. I was doing proficiency programs at a senior residence one time, and I told them I can't be here next week because I'm doing a bullying class. A lady raised her hand and said, "Have you ever done anything with senior bullying?" Senior bullying. I've heard of senior abuse, but not bullying. Guess what? Bullies grow up. They have to have some place to go. Could be, you might see it in a lunchroom. You might see it in a playground. When I was teaching, I was at lunchroom duty one time, and there was one boy who always sat by himself. I really liked this kid, but he never would sit with anybody. Didn't ask him why, but I could tell from his conversation that he didn't feel as if people were welcomed at any table. That hurt. Remember Mean Girls? It was a funny movie, Tina Fey, but in essence, it wasn't. It was a tough story. The first time I became acquainted with bullying was when I was very, very young. I was only 5 years old. We were staying in a row house until our house was ready. A row house, if you go to Philadelphia, they're all attached. We were coming from a trolley track, and those trolley tracks are still there. The trolley tracks are built up on about 4 feet off the ground on the top of rocks, just these big rocks that you could pick up and use. And one day we went outside, and I was 5, my brother was 7, but he was a tall, very skinny 7. Turned out to be 6'4" and gorgeous, but at that time he was skinny, skinny, skinny. And these boys approached us. I just remember them heckling my brother and calling him names, and then finally they started throwing the stones, and one hit him in the temple, and he went down. Well, I was 5. I thought he was dead, and I'm screaming. My mother came out. She picked him up, carried him in, and in those days, doctors came to the house, and he woke up and he was fine, but that always stayed in my mind. Why did they pick on him? Just because we're playing in the backyard. And it's at all levels. We have the Me Too movement now for sexual abuse, but there's another kind of abuse that goes on. When I worked at IBM, every Tuesday for a year, I went to Exxon to teach the art of dictation. Engineers from all over the world had to go through my course because they were sending in papers their secretaries couldn't translate. They couldn't understand. They had to dictate. And it was always delightful, except every now and then there'd be a bully in the group. They were all men, never had a woman in the group. And he would start making comments to me that were unkind. And actually it turned out to be in my favor because the other men would zero in and say, leave her alone and get on with the program. But the point is, bullying is around for forever. And when we were little, my father would just say, punch him in the nose. Today, you have to be careful about that. Some kids carry knives, some kids carry grudges, and those grudges could do harm in the long run. A friend of mine once said, I'm glad my daughter was bullied because it made her stronger. Now, his daughter was much taller than the average kid in 8th grade and sat by herself, and she was brilliant. She's now a doctor. She's a delightful gal. But what happens inside? You remember that. I used to tell my kids, there are 2 kinds of hurts. Outside hurt, like you fall and scrape your knee, it'll heal and go away. And then there's the inside hurt, where there's kind of a scar. One of my classmates recently passed away, beloved by everyone. But I remember in 8th grade sitting on a swing next to him. He said something so unkind that I still remember it. I don't think about it as it affected my life, but it's a scar. It's there. It'll always, always be there. There is a better way to go, and it's not by retaliating. It's not by getting even. And today, in today's news, you turn on the news, we have leaders calling each other names. Do we want our kids to do that? We want our own values, our kids to face our own values, not what they're seeing on television. But one way you can is to bully-proof your child. You can bully-proof your child. It even works with yourself. I use 8 basic tools, 4 of which I'll cover in the next session or so. But they're important because they're individualized. You do it your way. Each family has their own way of setting up their values. No one way. What I say doesn't matter. What you say is what matters, and what you want your kids to follow your way. Originally this was a 10-week video course. It still is, but we start this in a membership group where we just do a little bit at a time. And how many times you've read a book and said, wow, that's great, that's what I'm going to do, and you forget? Well, with the membership group, you meet once a week and you discuss this. You set up groups within the groups so that if you have 2 fourth graders or 2 10th graders or 2 2-year-old parents want to get together and work on the problems, because again, there is no one solution, but there are ways to handle it, and that's what we want to do. So tomorrow I'll tell you the magic bullet for bully-proofing your child. So tune in. Thank you.